they do it? Did they give me something to believe in? How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Nerdy Basement, your home for all things comics, TV, films, and pop culture. Today, we are talking Tron Ares, and this will be a review slash discussion of Tron Ares with minor spoilers. So, if you guys have not seen Tron Ares yet, pause the video, leave a like, subscribe, and come back once you see Tron so you can join us in the conversation. Now, I went into this movie with little to no expectations, not because of the early reviews or anything like that, but solely because of the film's leading man, and that is Jared Leto. I'm not a huge fan of Jared Leto, so anything he's in, I am pretty apprehensive about, especially if he's front and center. One of my biggest concerns with the movie going in was how would this movie tie into Tron and Tron Legacy. Long story short, it ties into the original Tron movie, but basically tells Tron Legacy to fuck all the way off. Why? We don't know. Disney, I have questions. Why don't you want to tie this movie into Tron Legacy? Please let us know in the comments. I'm sure one of you guys is watching out there. Now, there is a mention of Sam Flynn in the movie during the opening moments. This is montage speaking about AI and the two companies, Dillinger and Encom. So there's a mention of Sam Flynn. Apparently, Sam Flynn has retired from or resigned from the company Encom for personal reasons and left Eve Kim, played by Greta Lee, as head of Encom. Not sure why we decided to go this route. I mean, it's like that's like the biggest issue for me when it comes to this movie. That's like, is that the best we can come up with? Who is Eve anyway? We don't know of this character or this person. Why is she so important? And why should we care and root for her as the new head of Encom? A huge part of me feels that this story could have easily worked with Sam and Cora in the forefront, especially since Cora, being an ISO, was given permanence in the real world by the end of Tron Legacy. And that becomes the film's biggest MacGuffin. So if the permanence code or the impermanence code is the key to giving Ares permanence in this world, why is Cora or Sam not part of this film in any way? You understand what I'm saying? Apparently, Ares only lasts 29 minutes outside of the grid. Do with that information what you will. The code was hidden away by Kevin Flynn in an old Tron server. So the hunt for this code, the impermanence code, and Eve, who has this impermanence code on a drive and also imprinted in her memory because she's seen it. So, apparently you can memorize a double string of code just like that and just have it extracted from your brain. I guess that's how that works. I'm not sure. Talk to the writers of the film. Anyway, the movie also leans heavily into artificial intelligence, which is fitting for today's digital climate, given that everyone is using ChatGPT and stuff like that. AI is at the forefront of everything. There's a huge discussion about how AI is going to take over the business and all that good jazz. So everyone wants to tackle AI right now, given that Ares is also an AI program with master control privileges, who is controlled by Julian Dillinger, grandson of Ed Dillinger from the original Tron movie. It's fitting that that was the plot device or that was the angle they decided to take. Personally, I feel like this role should have gone to Ed Dillinger Jr. We saw him in Tron Legacy, played by Cillian Murphy in an uncredited role. Is such a missed opportunity. The fact that even Cillian Murphy was in this movie in an uncredited role is baffling to me. So upon my rewatch of Tron and realizing that that was Killian Murphy, I was like, "Wow, Disney! There's no way you are not doing Tron Ares without Killian Murphy involved, or having that Dillinger specifically involved for any sort of amount of time in that movie." Again, Tron Ares keeps brushing off Tron Legacy like it never existed, which is wild. Once again, considering this film was visually and thematically strong when the film came out back in 2010. And it also holds up beautifully now in 2025. 15 years later, it is pure cinema. So, Disney, I don't understand why you guys want to brush this off like it doesn't exist. It exists. Please validate that. Meanwhile, Julian Dillinger is your textbook mustache twirling villain, outright predictable, annoying, and over the top. But I guess that's the point with a villain like that. I'm personally not a huge fan of Evan Peters, so there's also that. I know, everybody love Evan Peters, but I am not a huge fan of Evan Peters. Now, Does Tron actually deliver on everything you want and expect from a Tron movie? In my personal opinion, absolutely. You get the immersive visuals, you got the heart pounding and electrifying soundtrack. You also get the action, even though it's pretty scarce and in between compared to, I would say, maybe the first movie or more so Tron Legacy, which is a little bit more action packed in my opinion. But it absolutely delivers on all that fronts, at least for me. There are two specific action sequences and a chase sequence that are beautifully directed, beautifully scored, and all visually captivating. However, that chase sequence in particular, which takes place in the real world, just really pulls you out of the Tron experience, in my opinion. I was not a huge fan of having this movie fully set in the real world. The grid is where the Tron franchise truly shines, is what made the first Tron so groundbreaking when it released in the early 80s, and it's also what made Tron Legacy such a visual spectacle. And it is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, outside of the soundtrack and the action, as to why Legacy holds up so well all these years later in 2025. The real world elements are fine and will always be there, but it's Tron and it is meant to be experienced inside of the grid. And I don't feel like we got a lot of that in this movie, unfortunately. And that's another gripe of mine. I really wanted to spend a lot more time inside of the grid, and we do not because they want to bring everything to the real world and get and bring that world outside of the grid, which is something that they hint at and kind of set up in Tron Legacy. But again, we don't really get much exposition and much connective tissue between the two films. Once again, I don't know why the writers and Disney want to write off Tron Legacy like it doesn't exist. Again, it exists. I also want to give a huge credit to Nine Inch Nails. Obviously, soundtracks have become a staple of the Tron franchise, and they absolutely nail it. Watching the film in Dolby with that Dolby Atmos sound is, I will say, it is a true cinematic experience. The music feels like a character within itself. It is alive. You feel every pulse, every beat. It's heart pounding. It gets your adrenaline pumping. It is absolutely incredible work from the moment the movie starts all the way down to when the movie completely finishes. Now, narratively speaking, the film is evenly paced, I feel, in my opinion. There's a good balance of action, even though we don't get a lot of action, but there's also a lot of downtime for exposition. That exposition doesn't always land for me. There's a few scenes that just don't really work, mostly due to the performances from the actors in those scenes. So, like I said, Evan Peters just doesn't do it for me in this movie. Some of his scenes are just really, really awkward and just off putting. And again, he is a mustache twirling villain, and it's just there's no depth to the character. I feel like with Tron Legacy and the first Tron, there was a lot more depth to these villains, even though Ed Dillinger's motives and the reason he's a villain in the first movie are pretty simplistic. But less is more in this franchise, and just in this case in particular, a lot less is also a lot of nothing. Greta Lee's performance in this movie is another gripe of mine. Now, she is great. I've seen her in other projects. She is a great actress. She is loved by the critics, rightfully so. But she is truly a fish out of water here. She is truly out of her element. Some of her line delivery feels extremely forced, unbelievable, it's awkward, unintentionally comical at times. So it was a little off putting. It was a little disappointing to kind of see her in a leading role like this and not fully be the Greta Lee that we've come to admire, from past lives and other, and even shows like the studio and things like that. You know what I mean? Like she has such gravitas, and I feel like she's out of her element here, which is unfortunate. But yeah, my biggest concern in terms of performance was Jared Leto. But honestly, he's not the problem in this movie. I feel like he nails the role for the most part. He does have that blank stare. You know what I mean? You guys, the blank stare that Jared Leto just has. But again, you can kind of overlook those little minute things. And but his line delivery is great. His performance as Ares is great as an AI robot. Just learning about the real world, even though they don't fully dive into that sensation of feeling things. I feel like he truly nails that. There's also a cool scene with him and Jeff Bridges, Kevin Flynn, and that scene was great. And then now she takes you to the original Tron grid and it gives you that look and feel with the neon lights. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a great scene. So I truly enjoyed Jared Leto's performance in this movie. That being said, my question does remain: does Tron Ares truly give you something to believe in? And in my personal opinion, it absolutely does. From the stunning visuals of the grid to the post pounding soundtrack, Tron Ares delivers the experience we've come to expect from the Tron franchise. It succeeds in standing on its own 2 feet, even if it deliberately distances itself from what came before, specifically Tron Legacy. It tries to elevate itself with a deeper commentary on AI, but doesn't quite nail it. The attempt, however, is appreciated. So by the time the credits roll, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the film. And with that being said, I'll give the movie a solid 3.5 out of 5, and we'll stamp it with our official nerdified stamp of approval. Now we turn to you. Do you guys enjoy Tron Ares? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you do not miss a video. It truly, truly helps the channel out. We'll see you guys on the next video. As always, stay nerdy, my friends.